The Grandview Country Club had exactly 147 members. I knew because I'd reviewed the membership roster 3 times in the past 2 years. Once when I first bought the place. Once when I restructured the management. And once last week when I saw my parents' anniversary party on the event calendar. I arrived at 6:30 exactly on time. Not early enough to seem eager, not late enough to be rude. The perfect middle ground I'd learned to navigate in a family that measured everything by appearances. My sister Victoria was already holding court at the entrance to the private dining room. She was wearing what I estimated to be $4,000 worth of designer labels. The dress, the shoes, the bag that she'd posted about on Instagram last week. Investment pieces, she'd captioned it. Investment in what? I wasn't sure. Certainly not in anything that generated actual returns. Emma. She air-kissed near my cheeks, careful not to smudge her makeup. You made it. I wasn't sure you'd come. I know these events can be expensive. I wouldn't miss Mom and Dad's 30th anniversary. Of course not. Family first, right? Her eyes scanned my outfit. Simple black dress from 3 years ago. Comfortable flats. My grandmother's pearl necklace, the only jewelry I wore. I could see her mental calculator working, tallying up my net worth in designer labels. Coming up with a number that satisfied her need to feel superior. Inside the dining room, 38 people were already mingling. Mom's side of the family, Dad's business associates, their country club friends. Everyone who mattered in their carefully curated social circle. Mom spotted me and waved. She was radiant in a cream-colored gown, Dad looking distinguished beside her in his tuxedo. They looked happy. Genuinely happy. Whatever their flaws as parents, they'd always been solid as partners. Emma, sweetheart. Mom hugged me. You look lovely. Simple but lovely. Simple. The word that had followed me my entire life. Simple Emma. Simple tastes. Simple ambitions. Simple life. Happy anniversary, Mom. 30 years. Can you believe it? Your father and I were just saying we never imagined we'd make it this far. She lowered her voice conspiratorially. Though I have to admit we were a bit worried about the cost of tonight. The club has gotten so expensive. But Victoria insisted on hosting here and she promised to take care of everything. That's generous of her. Isn't it? She's always been so thoughtful. Not like. Mom trailed off, catching herself. But I knew how that sentence ended. Not like you, Emma. Not like you, who moved away, who chose a different path, who didn't marry the right kind of person or have the right kind of career or live the right kind of life. I'd stopped trying to correct their assumptions 5 years ago. It was easier to let them believe what they wanted to believe. That I worked some vague office job. That I struggled to make ends meet. That I was the family charity case, scraping by while Victoria thrived. The truth was more complicated. And infinitely more satisfying. My brother-in-law Marcus appeared, drink in hand. Emma. Great to see you. How's the job hunt going? I'm not job hunting. Oh, right. The consulting thing. How's that working out? His tone suggested he thought consulting was code for unemployed. It's working out well. Good. Hey, if you ever need any leads, let me know. My firm is always looking for entry-level people. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills, you know. Marcus was a mid-level manager at an insurance company. He made $85,000 a year and thought he was a titan of industry. I'd reviewed his company's financials last month when they'd applied for a loan from one of my investment portfolios. They were over-leveraged and poorly managed. I'd declined the application. I'll keep that in mind, I said. Dinner was called. We filed into our seats, a long table decorated with white roses and gold candlesticks. Very elegant. Very expensive. Very Victoria. I was seated at the far end naturally. Away from the parents of honor, away from the important guests. Next to my cousin Brian, who spent the entire appetizer course explaining cryptocurrency to me like I was a child, and my Aunt Linda, who asked 3 times if I was seeing anyone special, with that particular emphasis that meant, when are you going to stop being alone and find a man to take care of you? Victoria stood up as the main course was being served. She tapped her champagne glass with a fork, calling for attention. I just want to say a few words before we eat. First, to Mom and Dad, 30 years. That's incredible. You've shown us all what commitment looks like, what love looks like, what partnership looks like. You've built a beautiful life together and we're all so grateful to be part of it. Applause around the table. Mom wiped her eyes. Dad beamed. When I was planning this party, Victoria continued, I wanted to make sure it was perfect. The best of everything for the best parents in the world. That's why we're here at the Grandview at this beautiful venue with this incredible meal. I spared no expense because you two deserve nothing but the best. More applause. Victoria was good at this. The speeches, the performances, the grand gestures. She'd been practicing her whole life. Now I know some of us. She glanced down the table at me. Some of us couldn't contribute financially to tonight's celebration. And that's okay. Not everyone is in a position to help with these kinds of events. Emma, I know you wanted to pitch in, but you're going through a tough time right now. So don't worry about it. Your presence is gift enough. Really. The table went quiet for a beat. Then a few sympathetic murmurs. A few glances in my direction. Poor Emma. Struggling Emma. Emma who couldn't afford to contribute. I smiled and nodded. Let them think it. Let them believe Victoria's narrative. So here's to Mom and Dad. Victoria raised her glass. And here's to family, to love, and to taking care of each other. Those of us who can. Everyone drank. Victoria sat down looking pleased with herself. She'd accomplished exactly what she wanted, made herself look generous, made me look pathetic, and done it all under the guise of being supportive. Dinner continued. Filet mignon, lobster tail, truffle risotto. The kind of meal that cost $300 a plate. I ate slowly, savoring each bite. Chef Williams had outdone himself. I'd have to remember to send him a personal thank you. The conversations flowed around me. Victoria talking about her upcoming vacation to the Maldives. Marcus discussing his promotion. My cousin Sarah showing off photos of her new BMW. Everyone displaying their success like peacocks fanning their feathers. Nobody asked me about my life. Nobody inquired about my work. I was the family ghost, present but invisible, acknowledged but not engaged. Dessert arrived, a 3-tiered anniversary cake, custom-made by the city's most exclusive bakery. The lights dimmed as it was wheeled out, candles flickering. Everyone sang happy anniversary. Mom and Dad cut the cake together, hands intertwined, still very much in love after 3 decades. It was actually touching. Despite everything, despite their disappointment in me, despite the years of subtle and not-so-subtle judgment, I was genuinely happy for them. They deserved this moment. The cake was distributed. Coffee was served. The party began to wind down into that comfortable post-meal contentment where everyone's full and slightly buzzed and feeling magnanimous about life. That's when Marcus, our club manager, approached the table. He was carrying a leather portfolio, the kind we used for member bills. He walked past Victoria, past Marcus, past my parents, and stopped directly beside me. Ms. Richardson, he said quietly. Your bill for this evening. The table went silent. Everyone's staring. Victoria laughed. Marcus, there must be some mistake. I'm paying for tonight. Just put it on my membership tab. Marcus didn't even glance at her. He kept his eyes on me. Ms. Richardson, as per your standing instructions, all events in the private dining room are billed directly to your account. The total for this evening is $8,472. Shall I charge your black card on file? I could feel 38 pairs of eyes on me. The confusion. The disbelief. The slowly dawning realization that something was very, very wrong with their understanding of reality. I opened the portfolio. Reviewed the itemized bill. 38 guests at $300 per plate. Premium wine pairings. The custom cake. The floral arrangements. The private room fee. All of it adding up to exactly $8,472. This looks correct, I said. Yes, charge my card on file. Very good, Ms. Richardson. And will you be requiring anything else this evening? I set down my coffee cup. Looked down the table at Victoria, whose face had gone pale. At my parents, who were frozen in confusion. At the 35 other guests who were trying to understand what was happening. Actually, Marcus, there is one more thing. Of course, Ms. Richardson. I'd like to cancel the membership for Victoria and Marcus Henderson, effective immediately. Please have security escort them from the premises once they've finished their dessert. They're no longer welcome here. The silence that followed was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop on the carpet. Victoria found her voice first. What? Emma, what are you talking about? You can't cancel our membership. You don't have the authority to. I have all the authority, I said calmly. I own the club. You what? The Grandview Country Club. I purchased it 2 years ago. The previous owners were retiring and it was a good investment. I've been running it ever since. Anonymously through a management company, but I'm the owner. Which means I can cancel any membership I choose. Marcus, my brother-in-law, not my club manager, was shaking his head. That's impossible. The Grandview is worth millions. You don't have that kind of money. I do actually. The club cost me $12 million. I've since invested another $3 million in renovations and improvements. Current valuation is approximately $19 million. It's one of my better performing assets. Assets, my father said slowly. Emma, what are you talking about? What assets? I stood up, gestured to Marcus, my employee, who pulled out his tablet and brought up my presentation. I'd prepared it last week hoping I wouldn't need it, but knowing Victoria would push me to this point eventually. I own 17 properties across 3 states, I began. Commercial real estate, primarily office buildings, shopping centers, and 3 country clubs including this one. Total portfolio value is approximately $94 million. I started 10 years ago with $50,000 I'd saved working 2 jobs through college. I bought a small office building that was in foreclosure, renovated it, leased it out. Used the cash flow to buy another property. Then another. I've been building this portfolio for a decade. The tablet showed property by property. Photos, addresses, valuations. Undeniable proof. But you work in consulting, Mom said weakly. I do consult. I consult with property managers on how to run the buildings I own. I consult with contractors on renovations. I consult with leasing agents on tenant acquisition. It's not a lie. It's just not the full truth. Why didn't you tell us? Dad asked. I tried. 5 years ago. I invited you all to dinner. I wanted to share what I'd built, what I'd accomplished. Victoria spent the entire meal talking about her new job. Marcus discussed his promotion. You two talked about your vacation to Italy. Nobody asked me a single question about my life. So I stopped volunteering information. Victoria was standing now, her face red. You let us think you were poor. You let me talk about helping you, supporting you, feeling sorry for you. I let you believe what you wanted to believe. I never asked for help. I never asked for money. I never claimed to be struggling. You all just assumed. And I let you because it was easier than constantly defending my choices. But tonight, Victoria gestured wildly at the table, at the decorations, at everything. I planned this. I organized this. I told everyone I was paying for this. You did plan it. You did a beautiful job. The decorations are lovely, the meal was excellent, Mom and Dad clearly had a wonderful time. You should be proud. But you didn't pay for it. Because you don't have membership privileges here. You never did. I gave you a guest membership 2 years ago so you could use the facilities. But all charges always came to my account. Every dinner you've eaten here, every round of golf, every spa treatment, I paid for all of it. Why? The word came out as almost a wail. Because you're my sister. Because I love you. And because I thought maybe, eventually, you'd see past your need to feel superior and actually see me. I turned to Marcus, my employee, who was standing discreetly to the side. Please prepare the final bill for the Hendersons. Include all outstanding charges from the past 2 years. They'll need to settle before their membership is terminated. Of course, Ms. Richardson. The total is approximately $47,000. Victoria sat down hard. 47,000? You've been coming here 3 times a week for 2 years. It adds up. But I can't, we don't have. She looked at her husband desperately. Marcus, my brother-in-law, was doing mental math and not liking the results. We can set up a payment plan. Of course, Marcus, my employee, said smoothly. We offer very reasonable terms. I looked at my parents. They were sitting very still trying to process everything. 30 years of marriage, celebrating at their daughter's country club, eating a meal their other daughter paid for, while their entire understanding of their family dynamic crumbled around them. I'm sorry to do this at your anniversary party, I said quietly. I really am. I wanted tonight to be perfect for you. And I hope it was up until now. But Victoria forced my hand. She couldn't just let me exist quietly. She had to make a spectacle of my supposed poverty. So now you know. All of you know. Emma, Mom started then stopped. What could she say? I'm going to leave now. Marcus will take care of the final details. Mom, Dad, happy anniversary. I really do mean that. 30 years is an incredible achievement. I walked toward the door. The room remained silent except for my footsteps on the carpet. I was almost out when Dad called my name. Emma, wait. I turned. He was standing, napkin still in his hand, looking older somehow than he had an hour ago. I'm sorry, he said. For not asking. For not seeing. For not understanding what you'd built. I know. Can we talk? Really talk? Not tonight but soon. I considered it. Considered the years of disappointment, of being invisible, of being dismissed. Considered whether it was worth trying to rebuild something that had never been properly built in the first place. Maybe, I said. Call me next week. We'll see. I left them there, my family in my country club at my table eating my food, finally understanding that the person they'd pitted was the one holding all the power. The drive home took 20 minutes. I lived in a penthouse downtown, 3,000 square feet with a view of the river. I'd bought the entire top floor 5 years ago. It was understated luxury, the kind that didn't need to announce itself. I poured myself a glass of wine, a 2015 Bordeaux from my personal collection, and stood at the window looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, my club manager. Ms. Richardson, the Hendersons have departed. Security reports no incidents. The party concluded shortly after you left. Your parents asked that I convey their thanks for the evening. I replied, thank you, Marcus. Please send the staff my compliments. Excellent work tonight. Another buzz. Victoria, I can't believe you did this to me. In front of everyone. You humiliated me. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. She'd humiliated herself. I just stopped protecting her from the consequences. Another text. We can't afford $47,000. You know we can't. Are you really going to ruin us over this? I typed. Payment plans are available. Interest-free for the first year. After that, standard rates apply. You have options. Options? Emma, please. I'm your sister. And I'm the person who's been subsidizing your lifestyle for 2 years. Consider this tuition for a very expensive lesson. I muted the conversation and set my phone down. More messages came throughout the evening. My mother asking if we could talk. My father suggesting lunch. My cousin Sarah, who apparently hadn't known about any of this and thought the whole thing was absolutely savage. My Aunt Linda, concerned about family harmony. I responded to none of them. I'd spent 10 years building something real while they'd spent those same years building assumptions. Let them sit with the truth for a while. 3 days later, Dad called. I was in a meeting reviewing quarterly reports for my Chicago properties, but I took the call anyway. Emma. Thank you for picking up. What can I do for you, Dad? I wanted to apologize. Properly. Not in front of a room full of people. Just you and me. Okay. Your mother and I have been talking. A lot. About you, about how we've treated you, about the assumptions we made. And we realize we owe you more than an apology. We owe you understanding. Respect. Acknowledgement of what you've accomplished. That's nice to hear. I mean it, Emma. $94 million. You built that yourself. From scratch. While we thought you were struggling to pay rent. The irony isn't lost on me. I wasn't trying to hide it to make you look foolish. I was trying to hide it to avoid judgment. I know. And that's what kills me. You felt you had to hide your success from your own parents. What does that say about us? I didn't answer. The question was rhetorical anyway. Can we have dinner? He asked. Just the three of us. Your mother and I want to hear about your business. Really hear about it. Learn about what you've built. If you're willing to share. What about Victoria? He was quiet for a moment. Victoria is dealing with some things right now. She and Marcus are in counseling. Financial counseling, marriage counseling. Apparently, this situation revealed some problems that had been building for a while. But that's not your responsibility. No, it's not. So will you come to dinner? I thought about it. About the years of being invisible. About finally being seen. About whether seeing me now after the dramatic reveal really counted as seeing me at all. On one condition. Name it. You don't get to ask me why I didn't tell you sooner. You don't get to make this about your feelings of betrayal or confusion. If we do this, we do it forward-looking. You want to know about my business? Fine. You want to understand my life? Good. But no guilt trips about the past. Deal. Deal. We met at a small Italian restaurant the following Tuesday. Not fancy, not expensive, just good food and quiet booths. Neutral territory. Mom hugged me when I arrived. Held on a little longer than usual. I've missed you, she said. I've been here the whole time. No, you haven't. Not really. And that's our fault. We ordered. Made small talk. Circled around the real conversation like fighters looking for an opening. Finally, Dad just asked, how did you do it? Really? So I told them. The $50,000 I'd saved. The foreclosed office building I'd bought at auction. The 6 months I'd spent learning everything about property management, commercial real estate, tenant law. The 18-hour days. The calculated risks. The strategic acquisitions. I started with one building, I said. A 15,000 square foot office space that was 70% vacant. I spent 3 months renovating it myself, literally myself. I learned to do basic electrical and plumbing. Then I leased it to small businesses at below market rates to fill the space. Once I had consistent tenants, I refinanced and used that capital to buy another property. And you did this while working full-time? Mom asked. I quit my job after the first year. The properties were generating enough income. I've been doing this full-time for 9 years now. But you never said anything. At family dinners, at holidays, you always acted like I was scraping by, because that's what you expected to hear. Anytime I tried to talk about my work, Victoria would interrupt with her latest success story. Or you changed the subject. So I learned to just stay quiet. That's on us, Dad said. We should have asked. We should have listened. Yes, you should have. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Mom asked, the country club. You really own it? I do. And 2 others. One in Virginia, one in Colorado. I'm looking at a 4th in Arizona. Why country clubs? Consistent revenue. High-value members. Recurring membership fees. They're stable investments if managed well. Plus, I like the challenge of maintaining tradition while modernizing operations. You've been managing the Grandview for 2 years? Yes. We've been members for 5 years. We've been going there since before you bought it. I know. That's partially why I bought it. I knew it was important to you. I wanted to make sure it stayed solvent. Mom put down her fork. You bought a $12 million property partially because it mattered to your father and me? It was a sound investment. The fact that you loved the place was just a bonus. Emma. I'm not looking for credit. I'm just explaining my reasoning. Dad cleared his throat. The money you spent on the anniversary party. On Victoria's membership. On all of it. Why? Because I could. Because you're my family. Because despite everything I love you. But we didn't deserve it. Probably not. But that's not really the point. I didn't do it because you deserved it. I did it because I wanted to. Because I'd rather have a relationship with you than not. Even if that relationship was imperfect. And now? Mom asked. After what happened, can we still have a relationship? I think so. But it has to be different. No more assumptions about my life. No more treating me like I'm struggling. No more Victoria making me the family charity case at every gathering. Speaking of Victoria, Dad said carefully. She wants to apologize to you. She texted me 17 times. I'm aware. She's genuinely sorry. And she's struggling. The $47,000 is more than they can afford. They've had to cut back on a lot of things. I'm not waiving the debt. I'm not asking you to. But maybe, payment plan? Extended terms. I sipped my water. She gets standard terms. Same as any member with outstanding charges. If she misses payments, we'll work with her. But I'm not giving her special treatment. That's what got us into this mess in the first place. Fair enough. The conversation shifted to lighter topics. Mom asked about my penthouse. Dad wanted to know about my other properties. We talked for 3 hours, the longest real conversation we'd had in years. As we were leaving, Mom hugged me again. I know I haven't said it enough, but I'm proud of you. What you've built, who you've become, it's extraordinary. Thanks, Mom. And I'm sorry. For not seeing it sooner. For not being the mother you deserved. You're here now. That's what matters. 6 months later, I was in my office reviewing acquisition proposals when my assistant buzzed in. "Ms. Richardson, your sister is here. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important." Victoria. I hadn't seen her since the anniversary party. We'd exchanged a few texts, her apologizing, me keeping things brief but not cold. She'd been making regular payments on her debt. She was halfway through it now. "Send her in." Victoria looked different. Less polished. Her clothes were nice but not designer. Her hair was simpler. She looked, in a word, real. "Emma. Thank you for seeing me. What can I do for you?" She sat down across from my desk. Looked around my office. The floor-to-ceiling windows, the modern furniture, the art on the walls. Taking it in. Really seeing it for the first time. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I know I've texted it, but I needed to say it in person. I was horrible to you. For years. I made you feel small so I could feel big. And I'm ashamed of that. Okay. I've been in therapy. Real therapy, not just the financial counseling. Working through why I felt the need to constantly compete with you, to put you down, to prove I was better. And I've realized it was all insecurity. I was afraid that if people saw you clearly, they'd realize I wasn't as special as I'd convinced everyone I was. That's good that you're working on it. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I know it'll take time if you ever can, but I wanted you to know that I see you now. The real you. And I'm amazed by what you've built. I leaned back in my chair, studied my sister. She seemed sincere. Humbled. Changed maybe. Or maybe just better at hiding her true self. Time would tell. Thank you for saying that. Also, she pulled out an envelope. This is the final payment. I sold some things, jewelry, mostly stuff I didn't need. I wanted to clear the debt. I took the envelope. Inside was a check for $23,700. The exact remaining balance. You didn't have to do this all at once. I wanted to. I wanted to prove to you that I'm serious about changing. About being better. About being the sister you deserve. Victoria. I know you might never trust me again. I know I destroyed something between us that might not be fixable. But I want you to know that I'm trying. I'm really trying to be better. She stood up. Extended her hand. I shook it. "Thank you for seeing me," she said. "And thank you for everything you've done for this family. Even when we didn't deserve it. Especially then." After she left, I sat at my desk for a long time holding her check. Thinking about family, about forgiveness, about whether people really changed or just got better at pretending. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Family dinner Sunday? Your place? We'd like to see how you really live. If that's okay." I smiled. Typed back. "Sunday at 6. I'll cook." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was progress. And sometimes that was enough. Sunday came. I cleaned my penthouse, which didn't need much cleaning since I kept it immaculate anyway. Prepared dinner. Nothing fancy, just good food. The kind of meal that said family, not showing off. They arrived together. Mom, Dad, and Victoria with Marcus. All of them looking around my home with new eyes. Seeing what I'd built. Understanding finally who I really was. "Emma, this is beautiful," Mom said. "Thank you." We ate on my balcony overlooking the river. The conversation was easy, natural. They asked about my properties. I showed them my portfolio. Explained my investment strategy. Shared my 5-year plan. Victoria was quiet mostly. Just listening. Bernie. Seeing her little sister for the first time. As they were leaving, she pulled me aside. I meant what I said. About being sorry. About wanting to be better. "I know. Can we start over? Build something real between us." I thought about the years of judgment. The years of being invisible. The years of letting them believe what they wanted to believe. And I thought about the possibility of something different. Something honest. "We can try," I said. "But it has to be real this time. No more performing. No more competing. Just honest relationship. Can you do that?" "I can try." "Then we'll try together." He hugged me. A real hug. Not an air kiss, not a performance. Just a sister hugging a sister. After they left, I stood on my balcony looking at the city. My city. The one I'd conquered quietly. The one where I'd built an empire while everyone thought I was struggling. The one where my family finally saw me for who I really was. My phone buzzed one more time. A group text from Mom. "Thank you for tonight. Thank you for everything." We love you. Dad added, proud of you, Emma. Always have been. Just forgot to say it enough. Victoria, love you, little sister. Thank you for not giving up on us. Marcus, my brother-in-law, not my employee, you're incredible. Thank you for your patience with all of us. I smiled and typed back, love you all too. See you next Sunday. Then I went inside, poured myself some wine and got back to work. Because that's what I did. I built things. Companies, portfolios, relationships. One careful decision at a time. And maybe, just maybe, I'd finally built something worth keeping with my family. Or maybe not. Time would tell. But either way, I'd be fine. I'd built my empire on my own. I could face whatever came next the same way. With patience, strategy, and the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly who she was. Even if it took her family 30 years to figure it out.